2,000 years ago, a period of warming causes stronger monsoons. Himalayan glaciers melt. Overflowing rivers boost agriculture, population, and trade. Powerful Srivijayan Empire is attacked. With its area of influence impacted, thus begins the rise of port cities. Among them, Singapore. Then, Ayutthaya and Majapahit empires grow in power, and port cities begin to wane. Singapore, affected by stormy squalls, labeled a Pausa Timora, a place where voyages are interrupted, ships steer away. A little ice age sets in. Singapore fades. Fate of port cities, shaped not just by power and politics, but by forces of nature too.
Is a Palembang prince who flees to Singapore after a failed rebellion, but returns to kindness by killing his host and taking over the throne. Or shall we remember him instead as Iskandar Shah, believed to be the direct descendant of Sang-Nila Utama? Despite his strong rule, he struggles to make Singapore flourish. The port is crippled by stormy squalls, smashing into the harbor, lashing and ripping apart ships moored there. Singapore is dubbed a Pausa Timora, or a false sanctuary, by the Portuguese. But what causes Iskandar Shah's eventual downfall appears to be a personal vendetta. He accuses a concubine of adultery and humiliates her in public. This leads to the woman's father, Iskandar Shah's chief minister, exacting revenge by plotting with enemy forces from Majapahit. Forced to flee for his life, Iskandar Shah heads north, finding refuge in Malacca. Thus, the kingdom of Singapore loses the last of its 5 kings, dimming the island's first golden age. But Iskandar Shah starts afresh by founding the Malacca Sultanate, establishing it as one of the most important in Southeast Asia. As Malacca's fortunes continue to rise, China takes a keen interest in this region, sending Admiral Jonah to explore opportunities. New China formalizes relationships with Malacca and grants it protection from Ayutthaya and Majapahit forces. Meanwhile, Singapore grows in strength alongside Malacca as a vital naval base with Orang Laut warriors and powerful cruisers. Halfway across the globe, the rounding of the Cape of Good Hope draws a new wave of voyagers to Southeast Asia, signaling the European age of discovery. The Portuguese arrive and seize Malacca in a bloody battle. The Sultanate court is forced to move to modern-day Johor. Singapore returns to the limelight as a base of anti-Portuguese resistance and also a Shamandarik, or trading post. Then the Dutch arrive, breaking the Portuguese stronghold in this region. An incident in Macau where 17 Dutch sailors are executed by Portuguese triggers retaliatory attacks. In Singapore, a Dutch explorer named Admiral Jacob van Heemskerk ambushes Portuguese ships laden with goods from China and Japan. He prepares an unprecedented plunder of the Santa Catarina, a ship filled with a precious cargo of musk, Chinese raw silk, and porcelain. The Santa Catarina and its cargo are taken back to Europe, where it stirs up even greater interest in the wealth and promise of Southeast Asia. The incident opens up relationships between the Dutch and the Johor Sultanate. Watching this battle between the Dutch and the Portuguese is Aceh, where the Sultan has been expecting the chaos to worsen to his political advantage. When that does not happen, Aceh decides to launch an attack on Johor. Over 20,000 warriors are dispatched by sea to attack Johor and Singapore. The Orang Malboys in Singapore, fiercely loyal to the Sultan, put up a desperate defense. Begun to set for Singapore?
Oh my god.
Continues to flounder, but there are still routes of curiosity and interest. Since the 17th century, the Dutch have been aggressively building their monopoly in the East Indies. In a bid to break the Dutch stronghold, a 38-year-old British officer from the East India Company set sail into the eastern seas on board the Indiana. His name is Stamford Raffles, and he is determined to find that one free port on the seas. Captain Danny Ross from one of the survey ships suggests Singapore as a possible base. Raffles decides to take a look at this seemingly unappealing island. Accompanying Raffles is Major William Farquhar, who will turn out to be a key player in the events that follow. On 28 January 1819, Raffles and Farquhar set foot on the island and established ties with Abdul Rahman, the Temenggong. Raffles and Farquhar craft a treaty of friendship and alliance to formalize British presence on the island. The Singapore Treaty is signed on 6 February at an elaborate ceremony appointing Tengku Long as the new Sultan of Singapore and permitting the British to set up a trading post on the island. In 9 days, Raffles and Farquhar changed the destiny of the region. And the vision Raffles has of Singapore as a great commercial emporium begins to take shape. Over the next 4 years, it will be Farquhar who shapes the growth of Singapore, from clearing mangrove swamps to constructing aqueducts for water supply to building roads and bridges. He is also credited with ridding the town of rats. Farquhar's strategy to invite skilled and enterprising tradesmen works, as the Malays and Chinese from Malacca turn up with ducks, chickens, and vegetables to sell. While his efforts to clean up and build a new town win the respect and admiration of the migrant settlers, Farquhar diverges from Raffles' instructions, leading to an eventual falling out between them. Raffles excludes Farquhar and sets up a committee to look at a plan for development. This leads to the Jackson Plan, named after Lieutenant Philip Jackson, who organizes the settlement and population along more orderly but segregated lines. With the signing of the Anglo-Dutch Treaty in 1824, the Dutch give up their claims to Singapore. Singapore grows exponentially as a free port. Ships come from near and far, bringing wave upon wave of traders, explorers, and settlers. Singapore becomes a vibrant marketplace with peoples from everywhere. Inhabitants of the Malay world, the Boyanese, Minangkabaus, Javanese and Buddhists arrive alongside the Arabs, Armenians, Jews, South and North Indians, Chinese, Scottish, and the English. In Chinatown, merchants Tan Tok Seng and Xia Yuqin work alongside Syed Omar Al-Junaid. Narayana Pillai's construction firm builds Chinese offices and homes. British traders Alexander Guthrie and Edward Brewster work with Chinese and Parsi businessmen, while Tan Kim Cheng, the elder son of Tan Tok Seng, works for Guthrie's firm. Hajar Fatima's vast landholdings are leased to the Chinese businessmen for spice farming. Munshi Abdullah comes from Malacca and is the writer who provides an extensive record of Singapore's early history. It is a golden era for Singapore, the little island of opportunity, and as tomorrow edges closer, the horizon looks brighter and even more promising.
The new Diana is not just a war vessel that helps fight piracy, she is also a symbol of change. Steam engines lead the way for Singapore's age of industrialization and modernity. And when the Suez Canal opens, everything kicks into high gear. Singapore's links to the world get stronger, and connectivity and communication more important. Newspapers begin to flourish. One outstanding figure is Yunus Abdullah, first editor of the Utusan Melayu and a major champion for Malay education. In 1923, the Causeway opens, bringing a new surge of trade from Malaya. By the time train services start, Singapore's status as an important hub is seen. With her strategic position and hard-working dock coolies, Singapore becomes the perfect global port. Singapore is also a regional center for Muslim pilgrims, led by companies like Alsagoff Steamship. With every new connection comes improvements to city life. Businessman Tan Kim Seng starts an initiative to provide public waterworks and later has a fountain erected in his name. People come from all over, adding their unique cultures to the melting pot. It's a dynamic era for diversity. This cosmopolitan city works hard and plays hard. After work, people flock to bars and nightclubs and the seductive amusement parks. But beneath the shimmer and shine lurk darkness and disquiet. To cope with pains, coolies behind Singapore's success story turn to opium, a trade which the British established and profited from. In a bid to help opium addicts, Dr. Lim Boon Keng, an English-educated Straits Chinese leader, starts a rehabilitation center. But the working classes face other social problems: prostitution, gambling, malnutrition, and poor sanitation, prompting businessman Tan Jian Kim to open a medical school Also attempting to improve conditions is William Pickering, protector of the Chinese. But challenges remain. In 1876, a new, safer remittance scheme breaks the Chinese Tauge's monopoly. Seen as colonial profiteering, it sparks violent riot. In 1915, another deadly event shatters Singapore. Sepoy soldiers being redeployed to Hong Kong worry that they will end up fighting fellow Muslims at the Western Front. Fanning this misinformation, coffee shop owner Qasim Mansour and the German prisoner of war Julius Lauterbach trigger off the 1915 Singapore Mutiny. Accounts record that the week-long mutiny results in 49 deaths, 56 mutineers killed, and 47 others executed. Even as the Japanese threat loomed abroad, public anxieties quickly abated when the British dispatched 2 warships to Singapore. Perhaps there is nothing to worry about. Prior to the Japanese occupation, the population feels a stronger allegiance to their motherlands than to Singapore. This is all about to change. By late December of 1941, it is clear that the Allied troops have lost ground to the Japanese. The local Chinese form a volunteer army to help defend Singapore. Comprising men and women, the motley group includes laborers, students, secret society members, clerks, dance hostesses, and rickshaw pullers. They are called Dal Force, named after their commander, Lieutenant Colonel John Daly. These last-minute soldiers only train for a few days before going to battle with elementary weapons like shotguns and powders. One of the fiercest World War II fights is fought by Lieutenant Adnan Saidi and the Malay Regiment at Bukit Chandu. Tasked to defend Pasir Panjang Ridge, Adnan and his men resort to hand-to-hand combat when their ammunition runs out. They refuse to surrender after being overpowered by the Japanese soldiers. Enraged, the Japanese hang them upside down from a tree and stab them to death. This is how his son, Mokhtar, remembers him.
Some say he was hanged and bayoneted. Others say he died of bullet wounds. However, this I know. He was killed by the Japanese in battle.
Adnan's undying valor exemplifies the Malay value of biar putih tulang, jangan putih mata. You can bleach my bones, but not my honor.
I feel so proud and gratified that his heroism is remembered.
The Battle of Singapore is over in a matter of 8 days. The surrender of the British hits home with the shocking spectacle of Europeans being forced to march 24 kilometers from the Padang to Changi Prison, ripping away the illusion of British and European supremacy is the site of about 100,000 prisoners of war and civilians being led away like gangs of common criminals. This is the account by Lady Thomas, wife of the British governor.
The Japanese hoped the local population would turn out to jeer at their governor. But the marchers passed through streets of people with sad and silent faces. It was an event always spoken of in camp as one of our greatest hardships and indignities.
The real sting of the Changi March lies in how the Europeans are so publicly humiliated. It completely changes the way the locals view the British, no longer seeing them as invincible masters. Set up to round up Chinese males deemed as threats. They are then loaded into lorries and taken away to be massacred. The Chinese call it Sup Ching, which means cleansing. This is the account of a survivor, Yap Yen Hong.
Our hands were tied, our knees were tied, and we were telling ourselves that they were really going to shoot us. They were really going to kill us. The moment my knobs came into contact with the seawater, it became loose and I swam outwards. My idea was to get away from that area as far as possible. When I looked back, I heard a whistle, an ordinary whistle. And somehow or other, it clicked in my mind. This is when the firing will start. I took a deep breath and went underwater. And I could hear the bullets ricocheting above me. I never knew what a ricocheting bullet sounded like. It went shoo, shoo, shoo above water. I heard the chat of a motorboat. When the sound of the motorboat came nearer to me, I stayed underwater.
While the official figure given by the Japanese is 5,000, the number of people killed during Sun Chi is believed to be closer to 50,000.
After some time, all became silent. Eventually the searchlights were off and I started to swim.
The Japanese occupation remains a painful chapter for Singapore. We will always remember the local heroes who resisted, among them Force 136, Malayan People's Anti-Japanese Army, and the countless others whose names and faces we will never know.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this act.
But only open it when you're about to enter the register in front of you.
This is so cool. I'm impressed.
Only open the umbrella when you're about to enter the register in front of you.
Rain has always been part of the Singapore story. Clouds of uncertainty hang overhead as Singapore struggles to stand on her feet after World War II. It took us a while to realize that our history had made us quite different from the region. Throughout the colonial period, we were never governed as part of the navy. It's not surprising that later, just 2 years after the merger with Malaysia, we would part ways.
First step of independence, we want self-government for Singapore. We, the people of Singapore, have decided to run Japan.
shall forever be a sovereign, democratic, independent nation, founded upon the principles of liberty and justice, and ever seeking the welfare and happiness of the people in a more just and equal society.
It is August 9th, 1968, and we are here at the Pada, where spectators and contingents are standing in pouring rain. Despite the stormy weather, there is a strong sense that we are all in this together. No one is going anywhere. On this great day in March 2015, thousands of everyday Singaporeans have braved heavy rains to pay their last respects to the nation's founding Prime Minister. Rain has always been a part of the Singapore story. Skies are clearing and sunny weather is forecast. You can leave your umbrellas closed today.
For 4 months, all 4 million Singaporeans faced one common enemy. As we shelved all other work to fight this one common enemy, we experienced stronger a bond as one united people.
Singapore fans here at the stadium and many people watching back home are bracing themselves. Will we finally take home the Malaysia Cup? Here is the defining moment. Singapore's favorite footballer side, Fandi Ahmad, through on goal. Fandi! The pool has always yielded medals in regional competitions for Singapore swimmers. But this is the 100-meter butterfly final at the 2016 Olympic Games. And it's the fastest swim ever in Olympic history. And it's a Singaporean Joseph Stewart has won Singapore's first ever Olympic gold. At 5:56 a.m. on 22nd May 2009, the Singapore women's Everest team makes its historic ascent to the summit of Mount Everest. Was a turning point that set us on a new path. Though we didn't know it, our 200 years since then have made us different. What does our history tell us about being Singaporean? Is it being open and connected to the world? Is it being a sum of all our diverse cultures? Or is it being resolute in always charting our unique destiny? Maybe it's a bit of all. is our time to figure it out. Our journey from Singapore to Singaporean. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being a part of our Singapore Bicentennial experience.